Good morning, brothers and sisters. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be watching from around the world. Machukwu Emmanuel, your brother from the BVI International Europe. I'm standing in this morning to make this broadcast today, dated 15th of October 2015, on behalf of the General Biafran men and women. This very broadcast now relates to the last broadcast I made about 2 days ago, where I tried to dig in the facts of what is going to be our fate come 2015 and beyond. In that very broadcast, they seem to deal a lot with politics, which is the in thing or what we are really going on now in that very land of Nigeria. I tried to sort out what's going to be our fate 2015 and what will be our fate beyond 2015 in case there is a power shift. I made a conclusion on that very broadcast that it's going to be nasty if there is a bad power shift and the struggle has not come to a conclusion. That is, by so to say, we have not actualized Biafra, and we have 2016-17 rolling on. I had to share this very broadcast to so many sites online, and I received so many responses by people who watched it. Some of the response are polite, some of them are rude, arrogant, but I think the broadcast deserves it because that is what it's all about. A situation where people have to use their head. A situation where the result of this very broadcast, the conclusion of people's mind will have to deal with a lot of things, where the conclusions are not going to be generally acceptably, oh yes. You know, any speech that receives an oh yes, generally acceptable, maybe because of the fancies in it, maybe because of the people's mind, what they have been nursing in their mind, because of the cowardice that live in them, they never want to voice it out themselves. But when they see it coming out from somebody else, everybody accepts it. It doesn't mean that's a wise talk. What exactly is wise wisdom is when this talk is difficult to understand, when this talk is not easy to accept, when you have to find yourself in a position where you don't know whether you say yes or no. Because to that very broadcast, a lot of things like that happen. A situation where people, they make their comments. After some time, you see a contrary comment coming in. You see people editing their own comments. Human behavior, anyway. There is a sample of comment there that interests me very much. When the first, in a page where I posted this, somebody wrote, responsible talk, or reasonable talk, sorry. Then another person came below, he wrote that I am talking rubbish. Who gave me the power, or who made me a Biafran? And Jonathan too, who made him a Biafran? Anyway, these are the kind of things I call abstract, because it has no reality in it. Somebody don't need to make me or Jonathan a Biafran. I was born, and he was also born a Biafran. That's the fact. There are a lot of all these abstract kind of comments that people make. I just call them commented fallacies. There are a lot of them going on today, like the one that says Nigeria has expired. We know it very well. The international community knows very well that Nigeria has not expired. The Nigerian currency is still valid today. The Nigerian passport is being recognized all over the world for traveling. It doesn't matter what you face, the problems you might be facing at the airport because of you're a Nigerian. It doesn't mean the passport is not valid. What they control is you, the character of the people, or not the genuinity of the passport. So if somebody tells you what happens to you when you carry a Nigerian passport to the airport, what happens to you, the controls you go through, doesn't mean that the passport is not valid. They are talking about the people. They are concentrated about the characters of the people and not the genuinity of the passport. Let us not be misled or fooled by such ironic statements. Anyway, so to go back to what I was saying, somebody made that statement. He says it's a nice talk. The other one person said it's rubbish. Who made me Jonathan a Biafran? Which is that thing I just explained. Then after some time, the person who wrote Reasonable Talk went back again to rewrite or edit his comment by saying Reasonable Talk or another side of the story. That was interesting. You see, people have a lot to think about on that very post because it concentrated on politics and the politics that we are going through in the land. Okay, well, let's talk about the general formation of this very struggle from the onset, because that is where we missed it. 6 wise men, or as ever their number might be, saw a gap in the Nigerian constitution that we can operate through, get a customary law government, and be able to sue the Nigerian government to court and be able to actualize Biafra by our ways of action. They grabbed it. They did everything right, established the institutions that are needed, the Belay Human Rights, the ROBL, and the Supreme Council of Elders. But the fact of what we are facing today is not generally about the confusion that came in between at the time of the movement. But I think it has to do with the very foundation, the very thing they missed, the very 3 steps, which I'm going to clarify here, they missed from the onset, from the setting of this very movement. It was a wise move to get this institution working, to get the radio working, to get the people agile for this very movement. But the thing that was missing is to strategize the target you needed to work with. First of all, in this thing, you really have to know the structure of the government that you are dealing with. That is the Nigerian government, which, yes, the structure is known, what is going on the structure, how it's functioning, everything about the structure, they knew it. Also, they have to think about why we have been failing for 17 years, even from the First World War, Biafran Nigerian War, to the failure of Wazirike, 17 years in the running, and up to now we don't achieve no Biafra. When you look into that very aspect, you find out that in that area, we know why. They looked into it, they find the reasons why we were failing. And the reason was politics. There were a lot of other moves that people need to make to get the fight correct, the freedom fighting well and done. These other avenues, per se, they move gently and gradually in order, but the area where we miss it, where they recognized, where they realized we are making mistake, was the area of politics. And that is the same area where I think we are still making that mistake. If you watch that politics aspect very well, you find out that, yes, why are we making mistake on that area? Because our people going, we put them in there with the hope that they will do what we ask them to do. But they get there, they get corrupted, they get deceived, they get greedy. Then we lose them. We found out this point. Now you come to think about it. What are you going to do when you get to the point where you see that politics is the problem? For instance, you are in a school and you have so many other subjects and you wish to read your doctorate degree or something, where biology is a subject you need to work with. Because why I make this comparison is that no matter what we do, when we come out from Nigeria to Biafra, we are going to live or governed by way of politics. So it's something we have to deal with when we get to where we're going. So to this effect, now what I'm saying, you studying and you want to do doctorate degree, and biology must be involved. You're doing your English well or fine, mathematics, every other subject, but you know that your problem is biology. What do you want to do? What are you going to do? Because your goal is to be a doctor, and there's no way you can be a doctor if you don't pass through that route. Do you run away from biology? Then you get to be no doctor unless you go now in a calling mode to get the certificate by purchase. So what you have to do in that effect is, if you want to get to that your goal of being a doctor, you must have to fasten your belt to go through biology. That is where they missed it. They saw that politics was the problem. They came in and they say we are whiter than white, we are stronger than strong, we are incorrigible, incorruptible, everything that you believe you are strong. That is good. That is fastening your belt. But don't run away after you fasten your belt. You still have to walk that track, because that's the only way you get to where you're going. If we check all around the world today, every other people, indigenous people looking for freedom, goes by it through so many ways, including politics. Nobody pushes it away completely, like the Biafran movement is trying to push politics completely away. You are running away from the subject that is going to guide you even after you achieve what is in your mind. It is politics that is going to rule the nation. You have to, if you don't involve in it, you have to checkmate it. Now, I want us all to take time and offload your head, or you put it a little bit neutral from what you have ever known, the messages you have ever received about what is going on in Nigeria, the ones you know yourself, the ones you receive from Radio Biafra, the ones you read from newspapers. I want you to free yourself a little bit more, and let's come again from the beginning and I'll tell you something. When these structures were founded, formed, and set, if my wise people could have looked into their targets, they look into the reason why they failed, and they look into the leadership of Nigeria, I think we could have been on the right track. You cannot run away from this very road, because it's on our sister yesterday from United States, somebody said something. He said the reason why when people get to that throne of leadership they change is because the devil has that seat of leadership. It depends on the point of view you look at it. If the devil has that point of leadership, if we should agree with what our sister said, you find out that even the director of Radio Biafra, who is in that seat of leadership, is in the throne of the devil and will be corrupted. But for the fact that there are people in everything you do, there are people who scarce through. There are people who are sitting in that seat and who are doing the right thing they are supposed to do. We know that. That's a fact. So for that fact, we're going to think about the devil having the whole seats. We know maybe the devil have majority seats on that throne of leadership, but there are people who also beat the devil to do the right thing. So let's not just put a barricade that anybody who climbs to that leadership throne must be demonized. If that is the case, we don't need to trust even the director of Arubia. But I don't want us to cancel that, because we have to trust some people. What I came to that is, what we have to know about that throne of leadership. That throne of leadership has a root. In life today, the throne of leadership has a root, and that root has everything to do with politics. So when you come to that gate of politics in Nigeria, and you are dealing with Nigeria as is the case with Biafra, we are dealing with Nigeria whether you like it or not. Like I explained, Nigeria is not expired. That is one of those abstracts, one of those commented fallacies, I say, that has no reality, because you see the reality is still standing, but your mind wants to feel that way. That's why you make those comments. It's understood anyway. But to the reality of it, if we had formed these instructions, get everything operational, then we look into the structure of the government. We know the structure, the functions of the structure, the way they function is our targets, and these are their weak points that we are going to use against them. We studied that, we know that, we keep it down. Then we study why we've been failing. That is politics. Why? What we had to do in that point was to fasten our belts, as whiter than white, as cleaner than clean. You still need to walk that road, but you don't allow yourself to be tempted or to be tainted. You don't need no dent, because you want to walk that same road to show that you are different from other people. That is what anybody who wants to go into this movement should bear in mind. You have to encounter these things. You have to face these things, because they are the realities, that is the obstructions that you have. You don't run away from these obstructions. When you know this is the problem, the people get there, they get deceived, they get carried, they get bribed, and you feel you are strong. You cannot be bribed, you cannot be deceived, you cannot be turned around. You must still bear in mind that you are still going to walk that very road. So it is for you to fasten your belt, not to be deceived, not to be turned away. The answer is not to run away and forget that area of politics completely. That is where we went wrong. They forgot that aspect of politics. That's why they didn't even go to the main point of the leadership of the very government they want to derive their nation from, the Biafra from. If we think about these 3 points, and we dealt with these 3 points, we couldn't be where we are today. 1, to watch and know the formation of the government we want to deal with. 2, to know the reasons of our failure so far. And 3, to know the head, the leadership of the very country you are dealing with. That is to say, if we had registered these structures and come back to strategize our targets, to know the targets by which we want to go. Everybody, like I said, free your minds. In case you never heard anything about Jonathan, you don't care anything, you don't know about how the leadership is. Now we are talking about how Jonathan concerns us, or what politics, or what everything about Nigeria has to do with our movement. When we created these structures, we have our target. We have our target, the kind of people we really need to work with to achieve what you want. You will know, you have to come into consideration that so many kind of people you wish that might be key to what you're looking for might not be on the same note with you. That is why you have to know that we know from the beginning you have to sensitize people. Sensitizing people doesn't tell you the classes of people or the grade of people. You have to sensitize anybody that is needed. So, if we take into consideration our targets, first of all, you have to think about that politics. You are going into politics. You have to mark time that politics. You have to checkmate that politics, and that is why you are whiter than white. Why you are stronger than every other man that has come to that very tunnel, because it's a tunnel you have to go through. It has goods, it has bads, it has a lot of temptation. We don't need to run away because that's the only way. Now, if we take that leadership from the onset, if we have made a target, say, okay, Jonathan is the president and he's a Biafran, we are not talking about what he's doing for Nigeria. That shouldn't have been our concern. We are not going to go into politics with him. We are not going to go into his party, but we are going to checkmate him in a way that is going to favor our conciliation with him, our coming together with him. That is your target, is to get the president who is a Biafran. I'm telling you, now, the audience has never started hearing of Radio Biafra, as at this time I'm talking about, and they made these plans, get these things in order, and have their strategies and their targets. They have now the president in mind to get him into the forum, not minding the bad things the president is doing or how he's governing or anything about what he's dealing with Nigeria, but he's a target for you to get into the forum because, one, he's a Biafran. If they has had that in their mind coming in, the audience couldn't have received or perceived the kind of hatred we had now for Jonathan, because it could have been another song altogether. The people follow what they hear. The people follow where the people follow. If we are doing this, we have to use our brain. We know what our target is. Our target is not Jonathan building a new Nigeria for us to join in. Our target is building Biafra and the possibility Jonathan as a president of Nigeria. If we have it in that very circle, not that we are joining his politics, but because we are checkmating him. And the best way we don't go and talk with him from the onset of this plan. It doesn't mean you have to talk with him. You have to just put it in your books of plan without his knowledge, without Jonathan's knowledge. Okay, what comes? Now, what you do, when the broadcast starts from RBL, if we were broadcasting partially in support of Jonathan, not in the sense of what he's doing to Nigeria or what they are doing in their Nigeria, but in the sense of how the Hausa man wants him out. Why? That we believe that he must be there whether he's doing anything or not, because he's a Biafran, at least. If we had that point in mind and motivate and educate our people towards that direction of mind, what comes out from it? Like we know today, Jonathan listens. A lot of people, even if they are not listening, these presidents are not listening direct, their oddlies or their assistants do and give them feedback. What is the feedback Jonathan is going to be receiving today? How the Biafran people needs him to be there, not the Igbos. Okay, he will hear it from our own side, the Igbo station speaking, how we are speaking and telling everything about him as support on his side. It doesn't matter whether he's building roads, infrastructures in Nigeria or anything, but the information he gets will please him. Then what do you think follows? If he doesn't make a direct contact, he will make an indirect contact, and he will have an indirect link with us. If you lay all options on the table, you must be talking about option of debates and open discussions, and you must have to go into dialogues. And that key there gives us that key to dialogue and gives Jonathan an escape route in case. We can see the situation we are finding ourselves today. I'm just saying, if the news, if the information that started coming out from Radio Biafra 3 years ago was about how the Hausa people are oppressing us and how they are not giving the leadership of Jonathan a chance, how we blame them. We are going to make them now look responsible or feel responsible for any failure of Jonathan. Then this awareness, this very information, whether it's true or false, because it's our plan work. What do we want our people to perceive and what do we want our people to follow? We want our people to follow us, to give that recommendation to the president that will make us have a good rapport with him, based on the search for Biafra, not based on the construction of Nigeria. Where that very rapport or that relationship was established, today we will be having support somehow from the presidency of the Nigerian government, having support of the presidency of the Nigerian government to search for Biafra indirectly. I think it's nothing bad. That is even more, it solidifies our movement and our root more deeply. Where that was done from the onset, we will not be having this problem today. Because RBL in the first place couldn't have gone off their way to start thinking it is a one-man thing, it's a radio station ownership of government. Because that's what brought about all this. When somebody opened a radio station, come in collaboration with other people who have a human right, they make a kind of contact to make these establishments without any solid agreement that binds them. You see what went wrong? The radio station believes they can go away and make the leadership a one-man struggle leadership, which is today. That is why we are going through this very problem we go through today. If I go to that very broadcast I made about 2 days ago, the way I describe things, I had a lot of phone calls, even from people who see things also from another, a very dynamic and non-violence approach. I received calls to telling me that is a little bit political. It also depends on what you think I'm saying. Like I said, I was talking from formation from the onset. But as we stand now, where we are now, it has come to the position that we have to look for ways to keep Jonathan on that seat. What I mean by this is, even if it's disruption of election in our own area, where there will not be election in the Hausa government as we know, there will be no election in our own Biafran section if we do it. That means Jonathan is also going to be there. By and large, I think what I'm saying is that the importance of Jonathan being in the throne of leadership till Biafra comes is very, very necessary, and is the only and the best way to go about it. We can't, because the road is rough. We know it. The road must be rough. The road to achieve peace, you have to undergo so many humiliations, but you have to accept these humiliations because you know the result is greater than the humiliations you pass through. You have to pretend liking or loving things you don't like, not because you are whiter than white, snower than snow, or whatever than whatever. You fumble and say that is whiter than white. It's just the same thing that also, the same confusion playing about in our heads when it comes to religion. People say There's something wrong about this religion that the British brought to us, if they brought religion to us and they support the Fulani man. And at the same time, this same person who believes that something wrong goes back again and make quotation from the Bible to support his own speech. That's confusion for me. That is somebody not knowing exactly what you want. You are indecisive. You are afraid. You are pretending what you are believing. If you know there's something wrong about the religion that the white man brought to you, either you take it or you leave it. It is your choice to take that thing you know that is wrong or to leave it completely. You don't take part of it to justify yourself when it comes to something that you find pleasant, and you throw it away when you see that it is against what you find pleasant. That is a mark of confusion too. That is the same thing that makes it impossible for people to understand me, where I'm going. It's going to be difficult. It's going to take some time, but believe me, the wise talks doesn't just digest so easily in the minds of the people, because it is strong. You have to turn you around a little bit. You have to think from so many dimensions before you can get to understand exactly a wise talk. Sometimes it takes years, it takes decades for people to start realizing what he said. Wow, that was what he was saying. In the days of Ojukwu too, if you look around, today we find areas where we can point and say he made mistakes. But believe you me, the people who were around with him those days, if they were around with us now, they will still point at that very side and say he made mistakes. But they were then with him, they never pointed it as they made mistake. Why? Because it takes time, it takes wisdom to know those places you make mistakes. It might take you after the mistake has been made. Maybe the words of wisdom will only turn to being a source of reference in time to come. When a mistake has been already done, then you can take it as a reference next time. But it's better if we can grab it at that very time that word is spoken, to realize it. What makes it difficult is the ego. When you are living the reality of something, you see the difficulty in it to accept it the way you will accept it when you are no longer living that in their reality, when you are seeing it from a distance. It's easy to accept it. But when you are living a situation, it is difficult to realize or to accept everything that is in it, or to make the right judgment. I want our people to think again. I still insist on that blessing of good luck, Jonathan. It is a blessing that not we the man, it's not a human-made blessing. It is something that is a blessing of God. That is a Biafran man who is in that key of leadership today in Nigeria. If you like, you support him by way of vote. If we like, we support him by way of disrupting the election so that he must continue to be there. Why I said I like the statement made by somebody, he edited it and added responsible talk or another side of the story. I want you to take that very volume, that very paragraph into consideration, another side of the story. It's really another side of the story, and believe me, it's the another side of the story that is hidden, that is secretive, and that is the only way out. We know it. When you are looking for situations, when you are looking to cross conditions, situations like this, it is not always easy to find a way. and the real way, the actual way, doesn't seem to look like the way. Why? Because of what I just said. You're living the time. So the realities are difficult to believe. If you are living, maybe if we are living beyond, or maybe in 2030 today, 15 years from today, you will find out that people will come to the reasoning, but at that time we were looking for that Biafra. Biafran was the president. Why didn't we use it? It will be easy for somebody to say, oh, we made a mistake. For everybody to accept we made a mistake, we could have. That now we are on it. To realize that that is what we have to do. It will come as a regret to us when we understand what we just missed. That is why there are mistakes. That is why there are regrets. It is wise when you open your ground, when you are living any situation, any circumstances, you try to go away from there. Take yourself a little bit out of that very situation and try to, it's difficult to do anyway, because you really need to go in the abstract to be able to see that very situation from another dimension. To see it as something that just passed, you just failed. What could you have done to make it reality? That is where it is difficult, and that is where you need wisdom, and that where leadership comes in. Somebody who can be able to have foresight, to know the result of your actions today. What is it going to result tomorrow? We missed it completely by ejecting ourselves completely from politics and not even checkmating the politics or marking time with that politics. You don't need to, like I said, we never needed to be engaged or with any politics. But we need to, by way of style and idea and brainwork, dance to the side of politics that favors us. If we know we are formidable, that's where you see it. When you walk the same road, when you say you are whiter than white, when you say you are truthful, you have to walk the same road that people walked and failed, because that is the only way. You don't run away from it. The same way that people walked and failed, you will walk it and you pass. That's what makes that difference. That's what I try to illustrate with what our sister said about everybody who walks into that throne of leadership becomes corrupt. There are people who walk into that throne of leadership, they are not corrupt, because they walked that same way. They walked that same hard lines that get other people cut down. That same way of politics, of all the whole wrangles and the mingling you have going to do. The people who went through it and succeeded, not being corrupted, not being changed, not being bribed. These are people, when you come out, you say you are whiter than white, because that is the way you have to walk. You can't say you are whiter than white when you are not going into that very mood, when you are not taking those temptations that will prove you are whiter than white. You are uncorruptible. What makes you prove it is when you walk the same way that trapped others, that put others down, that put others to shame. You walk the same way and you walk it successfully. That is where we missed it. We ran away from the road. The only way a doctor, like I said, my instance from the beginning, if you're studying to be a doctor, you have to do biology. You cannot run away from that biology to be a doctor. Only if you go and fraud the results, the papers, then you can have a certificate as a doctor, but in the actual fact, you are not. That is the only way now we can only say, okay, we want to get Biafra, we don't want to mingle ourselves in this, then we go to fight, which is just like frauding that very certificate. Then what happens to the doctor who fraud the certificate to become a doctor? He is going to deal with the people with that biology he ran away from. He is going to deal with it practically. What is he going to do when he meets people? You see what happens? A lot of people die because of doctors who are incompetent. It's the same thing if we say we want to go and have a nation by way of fraud. The fraud in this aspect now will be by way of force. One, the person who wants to buy a fraud document might not succeed. He might be arrested and jailed at the time of purchase, which means in the time of our using this means of war to go and get that very Biafra, we might be stopped and destroyed by the other force, because you cannot predict what will come out of a war when you go into it. The doctor succeeds in buying this fake certificate and he goes into the laboratories or into the hospitals. He cannot perform the duties. That is what is going to happen if we, by way of war, succeeds in getting that very Biafra. You find out that we cannot be able to rule ourselves because we don't know how to deal with politics. We are still going to miss it because we don't know the hooks and corners. We didn't find our way through it to be able to know what those problems, to be able to know the points where they bribe, where they corrupt, where they do all those things. You have to, the person who fell for those corruptions cannot continue or cannot tell you the stories or cannot be an expert in it. It's you who are whiter than white who scaled through that same passage and made it successful the other way. You can be able to pinpoint areas and avenues where we will make mistakes if we repeat those things in our own politics. What I'm saying is people should think again. Let's think from the start. If the knowledge the Biafran people knows about Jonathan started from the onset to be a knowledge of acceptance that this is our brother who is there, whether he does it good or whether he does it bad, we don't care about that. What we care now to know is our brother is there. And we could use him. If we started to preach our gospel, always saying the bad things the Hausa people, the Fulani people are doing to Jonathan, the way they want to deprive him, the way they want to stop him, the way they want to make sure that he does, blaming all leadership, all what Jonathan is not doing well and the one he's doing, he's purposely doing bad on the Hausa men themselves. Jonathan will receive these informations. Our people too will receive these informations, and the whole thing will be coming on as Biafra in unity. Like somebody who said, who made me a Biafran or who made Jonathan a Biafran? Nobody who will make you a Biafran. You don't need to buy identification of Biafra from anywhere. You need to be born and be a full son of Biafra to be a Biafra. And that's who I am, and I think and I know that's who Jonathan is. If you are born as a Biafran with your parents being Biafran, automatically you are Biafran. Nothing else can qualify you to be in a Biafran. There are people who are not talking about this very movement, who doesn't even hear what you're saying, who will only hear the day they say Biafra is there. They look around and say, oh, you find Biafra, he runs home. You are not going to exclude him from Biafra, although he did nothing. He is just born a Biafra. It is the dimension, the avenue, the area, the wing by which we looked at Jonathan, the way by which we were educated about Jonathan, that is making us miss it, because we ran away from politics, not considering the leadership of that very Nigeria we want to come out from. That could have been the 3 strategic points: to know the targets and the very, very influential and important targets we have to deal with, whether we liked it or not. These are the places we have to go into humiliations because of the gains we're thinking about tomorrow. If we have started it calmly today, we can find out that Asare Dokubo is a heavyweight in his own place. We see the heavyweight he's pulling. He played it cool with the president. He played it rough. He started and played it cool and make, sometimes he get boo and then get harrier, because everything you are doing, you want to have, you know where you are looking for, what your key is. If our key was to get the president to our side, we could have walked towards that direction by the means of pretending. Because we should have known that this is a main key point of our success. If our mind was not who is going to be who in Biafra tomorrow, if our mind was generally only concentrated on getting Biafra at all means, we should have, from the onset, looked at that point of who is in the throne of leadership in Nigeria. The information our people knows today, the information that people has received about Jonathan, the teachings they know, where their mind is placed now shouldn't have been where it could have been placed. We could have avoided that. I'm not saying Jonathan is a saint. I'm not saying he's doing good. We should. I'm not saying we should promote whatever. I don't know how you want to look at it, but the way I look at it is just that no matter whatever Jonathan is doing today, he is not the worst president has ever ruled Nigeria. And we shouldn't have been concerned about how he is ruling Nigeria. But our point could have been the seat of leadership in Nigeria. How does it concern Biafra? And what can we do with it? From the onset, the preaching could not have been against Jonathan. People preach good things about people pretensively, maybe because of what they want to achieve. Maybe that should have been what we do. We pretend to preach good things because we know he is the power, the number 1 citizen in the country we want to retrieve our Biafra from. And he is a Biafran. That could have been our thinking point. If we had started from there, the information that could have been coming out from Radio Biafra from the onset about Jonathan himself as a man, and the presidency could have been the obstructions he received from the Hausas, the threats, the distractions. This could have been our message. Because what? We want to lobby him to our side. We are not going to him to approach him direct. That will give him the time. That will give him a choice of approaching us directly or indirectly. And if we are whiter than white, if we walk that same road, we will not be corrupted. If we are corrupted, that means we don't have nobody. That means we are not what we are saying. We are not truthful. We are not whiter than white. But you must have to walk that same road because it's the only way. You cannot differentiate these issues. I don't know how we, the Nigerians, gave our own freedom fighting again another definition. A definition that reduces our power. It could have been even better if they don't even the word general definition of freedom fighting means you have nothing to do with politics. It could have been even better if we add it, if it's something that is going to help us, not to reduce our power of freedom fighting because of the definition we give it to ourselves. I don't know how we come about that definition. We see that everywhere in the world today, people are fighting freedom. They have their political wing. We don't have no political wing, but we should have been checkmating this. We should have been putting the politics in Nigeria into their framework of planning to know how we follow them foot by foot, leg by leg, and know what we want to use. We should be able to pretend to the favor of actualization of Biafra in so many other things. Let's think again. We are losing it. If we don't realize the fact that Jonathan needs to be there by election or by disruption of election after 2016, only if anybody believes that I heard it yesterday. They asked the director of Radio Biafra, somebody was making a speech, he said, we know the Biafra is coming soon and is coming next year. He said it. That they know, the Radio Biafra director said, yes, he believes Biafra is coming soon, but the actual time is what he cannot say. So this results to the same thing we've been saying. So this makes you understand that there is no assurance of 2015 Biafra. Then when that is not possible, what are you thinking about the fate of Biafra after 2015, the fate of the struggle, the fate of the movement? How do you think the Hausa people will deal with us after all what they have had if Jonathan is ousted from that office? By any means. If we don't stop the election, if we don't vote for him and he is ousted, what becomes of our movement? I think anybody who is looking for this movement before you, who is looking for the restoration of Biafra, before you are doing or thinking anything, you'll be supposed to be thinking about how this movement continues to live. How to sustain the movement, to keep going on. It has to go on till it gets to the point. If we don't think about the livelihood of this very movement, when it dies, you can't achieve nothing. Biafra has been put in a pocket, in a closed door for a long time. Praises to the people who made it happen that we can be able to hear about Biafra. Praises to all those people who worked with Radio Biafra before and up to this time. Praises to the Nnamdi director who is making the awareness so wide and so broad. But that is not what you agreed, Nnamdi. What you are playing the part now is a part of the diplomatic affairs, which you never consented to. You say you don't need anything to do with peace for Biafra, to actualize Biafra. The work you are doing is the work the diplomatic, the below human rights accepted they have to do. You are doing it when you did not accept it. The job you say you want to do is you're going about it by war. If you needed any means of a dialogue, the best way to start dialogue is to start in your land, in Nigeria, which is where you missed it, where you ran away from the things that govern the land, the politics that govern the land. If you are whiter than white, if you are formidable, you are facing these things head on and defeating them head on. You are going through the same route that we send our people and they compromised. You have to walk that same route and get out free and clean. Then you are that hero. There is no way we can run away from it. The institution that governs a government is the political institution. That's where the governance of every nation comes out from. And we have to mark time the institution, that very mechanism in Nigeria. that political platform, or whatever you call them, that political party, that political arena in Nigeria, we have to walk through that place. It's a deadly place. It's a very dangerous place. Everybody understands it. All our people who have gone through it have been smoked into this deep fire. And you coming out, anybody who's coming out should know that you have to go also through this channel. If you are strong, you should emerge at the other side without being dipped into these corruptions, without being deceived, without being bribed. And that is what is going to make you the champion, because by and large, you must have to go into this. Ojukwu realized it. Maybe he went through the back or the bad party. Some people say that was the wrong party. Some people say that was the right party for him. But the point is that he realized that there is nothing you can do without going into intermingling with them. You intermingle with them, it's difficult to do that. They might corrupt you, like they have done to various people, to almost all our leaders we sent to them. So if anybody who is coming out will make you strong, you say you're strong, you are equal to the ass. Just like you asked the other somebody who called from, I don't know where he called, you asked him if you are ready to take the temptations that call from all angles, although you use belief as the temptations, but you asked him if he is ready to deal with anything, and he said yes. So if we ask you, you are ready to go through this very hell, and you say yes, you should go directly into that hell and emerge from the other corner and not run away, divert. Where are you going? There's no road where you want to take us to. The reasons, the way where we have to, with the way where we can achieve Biafra is open, and it's dangerous, it's deadly. This other way you want to go by is fraudulent, and it's not sure, and it's deadly too. This other way is also poisonous, deadly, corrupt, everything about it. The political way is that, but you have to walk this way. You have to pass through this way, because it will keep our people safer. If you can be that hero who will not be corrupt on walking that way, if you can be as white as snow as you think, as you say, we will praise you. We will applaud you. Anybody who can walk that very dangerous way that all our men and women has fallen into. Because it's the only way. Right now, where we stand, we need to start from now, because I said it. A wise talk is not easily generally accepted. What I'm saying you now is not what everybody will come and say, yes, it's wise. They are getting confused about my first broadcast. People can go mad about it. What is he talking about? It's because of where you have been driven to. Some other people will sit around and say, like somebody said, it's another side of the story. What I am telling you is a word that needs time to think about and to get the information proper. But I want our people to be smart about this, because there's no time left. What we have to do about all this now is amendment of all what we missed from the onset. We should have been taking these three views into consideration. The structure of the government of Nigeria, which is the one Nnamdi is using perfectly today to damage them because of the damage, the non-working structures, the stupid structures. We are using it as a nice argument. That is fine. They really evaluated that. They really went into that history. They studied it, and they are coming out with wonderful efforts based on the structure of the government as our weapon. The reason why we missed, the second point, which is the reason why we missed, or why we have been missing this struggle for a long time, is politics and the corruption among our people. That area is where we keep missing it again. Running away from it is not going to save you. They say he who fights and run away lives to fight again another day, because that's the only way out. running away from politics because politics has always won our people over, to deny us, to follow in oppressing us, to betray us. Politics has always won our people over in this aspect. So the only way we could have got it better is to tighten our seatbelt and go on it again, because there's no other way out. If we have gotten somebody in the Radio Biafra director who is whiter than white, who is so truthful, who is uncorruptible, then he should walk this same way that these people have walked, because it's the way. You can't leave it. Like what I said, we have to check nations who have or who are still in this first struggle. How did they come about it? How are they going about it? You leave no stones unturned. There must be avenues for dialogue. If we have that good relationship now with Jonathan, we will be dialoguing with him, although we believe plans are still going on that way. We are grateful and we are hopeful. We have to dialogue on the right directions. A lot of people talk about the court case, the delay. What are they doing? This is all about dialoguing, making people know what you're saying, even if they are not giving it to you. Nobody expected them to give us Biafra from the court case. But that's all about saying something. There is a difference between if I am in my house, you're in your house, I stay here and start shouting, I will deal with this man, you are hearing it from your house. You take it is different than when I come to your house and approach you about our problems. It's quite different. The way we are approaching Jonathan in his own door, because I would say he has the door, the key of Nigeria at this time. And when we go to court, we approach him. When we send delegates to him, we are approaching him. But when we stay on the radio and shout and insult him, it is something different. It is something nobody will welcome. No matter if the person is doing good or doing bad. He has his own life, you have your own life. I wonder what is going to be with us and the Jonathan's people after. Okay, tomorrow Jonathan is not there. We find our way out, we get Biafra. What do you think is going to become of the Jonathan people, who is Jonathan and his landsmen, with Asara Dokubo being there as a power him own, as a warlord on his own part? Then these two influential powers coming from there, knowing that we did not support, we castigated, and we are all in one nation together. Then what do you think? How well do you think we can live with them? If they come out to know their own son, Jonathan, who they so praised, who they so held, they hold to high esteem. Asare Dokubo is there, he supports him, all of them, they are there, having their powers and their own militias and everything, their dignity. And we get Biafra. Assuming an Igbo man, Nnamdi Kanu he becomes the leader of Biafra tomorrow. What is he going to do with Jonathan? When you see him as a man who was there when you could have gotten Biafra easily and he did not do it. Because that's what you're going to say, but that's not the reality. Anyway, what do you think will happen between you and them? How are you going to take them? How will their people receive your own presidency in Biafra land if you never received their own man when he was president, when their own people held him to high esteem? They support him, they are happy with him. And these are the people we still want to be in the same land with. How are we going to receive ourselves? Do you think that these people will concur to your own leadership and they support and abide with you and will never disrupt you? I don't think so. If you give them the respect they have as the president of Nigeria today, if we get Biafra tomorrow, they will give you the respect. To do whatever you want. If we get Biafra together with them, that would have been better. What do you think will be the volume of this very movement if we, from the onset, like I said, promoted the cause of Jonathan in one way or the other, and get him, rope him inside our own side, in our circle? When you rope him inside our own circle, automatically you have Asare Dokubo. What do you think now will be the volume of the Biafra movement around and within Biafra land? Some of our people love Asare Dokubo very well. Whenever many people say who are not interested in Biafra understands Asare Dokubo more than the people preaching for Biafra. Igbos. If we had these people, you should have known. That's what I mean by strategizing our targets. Knowing the people that matters, even if they are not the people that is righteous, so to say. We should have been able to recognize the people that matters, the people that can make this work. But I see power play here, all over. I see that power play because everybody should have known that this is what you do. You have to think about the seat of leadership in Nigeria. If you had think about that, you could have seen Jonathan there and you could have known what to do with him. But because of that power play, it is better to avoid this man, because if you put a man of that very caliber into the struggle of Biafra, at the end, he might be the best choice. That is today too. Our brother have no target or no association with Asare Dokubo, because if you put somebody like that on this very target now, there must be a change in leadership. I think that is what all this is all about. Because if you look at the dimensions of what we are saying, who we really want to get this Biafra with, you see that these people are prepared and they're ready and they have the mechanisms too to make us become what we want. Then why are we not using it? And you want tomorrow. I don't know how you leave the lords of the land, of that very place, and you want to sensitize their riffraffs or what? The people who will not even follow you, because those people you want in their local communities that you want to sensitize will follow them if they say so, and not you. One, they will watch what are you saying to their president. How do you support their own person who is in the throne of leadership in Nigeria today? Which agreement have you got with their warlord, who they respect and cherish so much? Even the Igbos value his words. Why are all these very big entities and all these powers not working together? It is all about power tussle here. It's all about somebody checking best. He is first check, if I do this, how will this guy come to take my place? You're not thinking about, if I do this, how will this thing achieve Biafra for me? I am not greedy about nobody. I don't have no reason to be. I'm not trying to stop anybody. I don't have no reason to be. I don't believe that anybody is against the fight of Biafra, or if the RBL is doing anything for the actualization of Biafra. Anybody with good senses will be doing anything against it. I think the RBL is the one working against itself. In the sense, they are doing the job and at the same time spoiling it because of propagandas, because of fear of power, to lose power. Just look at the statement too the director made yesterday. He said, these statements are the statements that come to, when I think about them again, I come to a conclusion, wow, this guy is up to nothing. When he made a statement that the BVI human rights are now writing letters to countries not to sell them arms. These are one of those words he says that makes me look at everything as childish. Who are you telling that? That BVI is writing letters to countries so that they cannot sell you arms. So that means the money the people send to you, what are you going to do with it? Tomorrow, if you succeed we succeeded in buying arms from a country, but the BVI Human Rights Organization told the Nigerian government and they seized it. Is that what next we want to hear? There is no reason. We, the Biafran people, don't need any reason of failure. We should be able to think about every reasoning before making any move. All those kind of accusations, senseless and childish defense, makes me feel and makes me sometimes go over the top, over the edge when I speak about RBL. The BVI human rights and his people are going and writing letters to the world not to send you arms. And the countries are telling you, according to you, you say the countries are telling you. Which people are you dealing with? Are you dealing with, is it, what kind of people are you really talking to? And what are you telling us, and how is this very transactions being made? So, we are in support of anything that will bring us Biafra. Like we know, structures have all been set down and everything is ready for us to actualize Biafra. But the only one key we are missing now is the one key that will set us free. The one key that God gave us, that is blessed, that we are refusing to accept. Now, a lot of people have joined in refusing to accept that one key. Why? Because of the education we have been given to. And that is the worst thing that will happen to us. If we accept that very education and don't do our homework now very fine and fast. It's about Jonathan. Like I said, from the onset, we could have given him another face. But as it stands today, because of the heart of the people, when you say politics, they say you have been given money. That is what we've been taught today to know. But as it stands, let's not say vote for Jonathan, but now let's call for the obstruction of the vote in Biafra land. We know the Boko Haram is going to help us do that job that way. Then let's stop it in Biafra land so that Jonathan continue to stay. As long as it will take for us to start calling for referendum. If there is no election in the north and there is no election in the east, the country will be in disarray. And that time, if we are together and stop this nonsense, I don't know what to call it, this accusations that RBL is making that is completely unfounded. It annoys me because I don't have words to compare or to qualify all these kind of accusations. Let us stop it, come together and wait for this time and find if we cannot, gradually we are going to find another grounds in making our relationship a little bit cordial with Jonathan and his people. Like I said, religion should not be a matter. Because our constitution is not going to draw a religion for us. It's not going to attach everybody to one religion. It's going to be a country where you have the freedom of worship. I've been given that instance. Jonathan and Asare, they are working together. This is Muslim and the Christian working in the same place. And Asare himself, being the leader of a movement, is a Muslim. He is not asking the Boko Haram to come and take over his place. It doesn't work that way. The word about who is doing what, who is going to which, who is worshipping which religion is words of propaganda and should have no place to play in this very movement of freedom fighting. This is a choice of free will. So let's keep that completely off this very argument. Let's try our possible best to see how we reconcile with ourselves. When we talk about reconciling with ourselves, we are talking about reconciling anybody and anything that belongs to the Biafran. You should check out the peoples and their position. You should know how their position could be able to help us. When we are talking about sensitization, you don't have classes or the qualification of people to sensitize. You sensitize as many as you can. Even the president, when he needs it, we do that. We make him get the need of why. Even the Roger Sokorocha, we have access to make people get the need. That's why we need to challenge these people. We need to interact with these people. We need to debate. We need to dialogue with these people head on and not to run away from them and say you are whiter than white. The road to freedom, the road to leadership is not a whiter than white road. It's a road with so many blocks and stumbles, and you as whiter than white, you have to go in there and come out that whiter than white because you can make the hero. Please, my brothers and sisters, bear in mind, you don't need to just listen to this and accept it. You really need to go down and dig more about so many other things. You need to know about the formation of that government. You need to know so many things again about, think about it again. If Jonathan from the onset was not given the picture we have now, has a decent picture amongst the Biafran people in the struggle. With that, we can connect to Jonathan, we can connect to Asare Dokubo. Then tell me where our growth will be. Tell me that sensitization we want to go and do in the Ikwere, all those places we want to go and do those things. They could have been doing those things themselves and with force. We know the power, we know the level of these people. My own meaning this morning is that we are at a junction of complete confusion right now. It is late, it's getting late, but it's not all over. We can still make it. We can still get it done. We can still work it out. But we need to be smarter and we need to be faster. We should think about everything Biafran, how to use them. Men, women, goat, sheep, cow, trees, flowers, roads, everything that is Biafran. How are you going to use it to actualize Biafra? Their positions matters. Their qualification matters. Their talents matters. In all we want to do now, we have to find these things and find those strategic help they can do for Biafra and fix them in the positions they are supposed to work. It's our job to do that. That's what we call smartness. When you talk about wisdom, the words of wisdom, like I said, is not for everybody to accept immediately. It's not easy to understand that this is a word of wisdom even. That generally accepted, it's just because the people are coward enough they couldn't say it themselves. So when they hear it, they say, I said it. But it's not the wise word. The wise word is difficult to understand. It's not easily acceptable. It takes time to find out. But most of the times, it's already late. Wise words mostly are used for references. when the problem reoccurs. But in this case, we don't want a reoccurrence of this very Biafran struggle at this time. We want to put an end to this very struggle and to actualize Biafra as the end of our movement. Now, with what and how we stand, with what we have done, the pressures and the actions we have done so far in this struggle, we are standing at a very delicate position. A position where we have to and must have to move this struggle forward. A position where we must make sure that this struggle doesn't die at this time. And then that brings us to thinking about what is going to be the fate of this very struggle 2015. What can we achieve? Because that's a door of opportunity. We can get what we want 2015. Then where that is not possible, the fate of the movement beyond 2015. What are the mechanisms that will keep the movement going on? One of them is the presidency of the Nigerian government. It is sure. So, election is at hand. We have made mistakes by presenting the president of Nigeria the way we did, which I solidly disagree with. But as things is now, the only way we can go about it to make corrections is for those who believe if we can get it done that there will be no election conducted. It's a best bet, so that Jonathan will continue to be there. Any forceful removal will bring that very catastrophe we're talking about. We can defend ourselves, our borders, and when the Jonathan himself know that a call for referendum might give him even a deal, I think he will have our plans as the next exit, or his quickest and safest exit. If we can be able to obstruct the election 2015 in our own land and prepare our books and get everything ready from now till then on how to call for referendum, file our papers in the international community, file it in the government of the Jonathan. When that seat will be hot for him, he will look at those papers filed and the call for what is necessary. That is where we can get to that referendum. That is how we can get to that Biafra 2015. But whereby by any means of whatever, any virtue of whatever goes on around in the country, we don't get that. We should be thinking about the survival of the movement beyond 2015, which will also be made possible if there is no election. Jonathan will be there. We keep going. If there is election, if it happens there is election in Biafra land, then we have no choice. We will be left with no choice, whether you like it or not. But as long as you love Biafran struggle, you want it to keep going, the best advice is to vote for Jonathan. Whether you find him the person or not, God have chosen him to be the person on seat now. Whether you are one of those people who want to be greater than God and his knowledge, well, you are one of those who are going to help to the failure of Biafra. It's good we know that. That pride, that education, those things we know, those wrong teachings, whether they are right, but they are done in the wrong time. Those teachings we know about Jonathan should not be considered. What we're supposed to be considering when it comes to Jonathan is who is this guy and how is he concerned and what can he do for the movement. Not what he's doing for Nigerian government or not what he's doing for the movement now. Mind you, we have not approached him. We have only insulted him. So you don't expect, I don't know what you people are thinking. You're insulting somebody as he's coming at the same time as I give you Biafra. When his own brother, who he knows is a warlord, who he knows is a mover of the people, are not even in support of what you are saying. We did not even manage to get Asare to our position. Maybe because he's Muslim. But I don't think so. So my brothers and sisters, this is just a wave of my last broadcast, which kept people talking, which made people confused, which made people say all sort of things, good and bad. I like it because it calls for reasoning. But we should be fast and we should be smart, knowing that the will of men are not the will of God. The reason why Jonathan is there, we should think about it again. No matter what you are thinking, I want you to remove all those things and think about the work of God. Why did he do that? Why is it today like that today? Or do you believe there is no hand of God in what is going on about the actualization of Biafra? If there is a hand of God in what is going on about the actualization of Biafra, you should think about the positions of all Biafrans in the world, which Jonathan is included. Thank you very much. That's what I have for this morning.